Hey there, Cheesemeisters. That would have been Baby I'm Yours by Barbara Lewis. That was playing in the Peach Pit when Steve and Brandon are hanging out, and then Emily shows up, and Steve takes his soup and goes somewhere else to make phone calls. Steve has to make a lot of phone calls at the payphone in the Peach Pit, which is weird.
Yes, Ember agrees.
I am Jeff, and how you doing? This is Sal's Pizzeria. We got them large, small, 14 delicious toppings, all just for you. And as you can hear, joining me on the other end of the internet is Dog Ember and my co-host, Ryder.
I'm Leslie, and I just want you to know that I'm ready to deal with the situation. I feel for you hard, but if it's not going to work out, it's not going to work out. And that's cool. Friends?
Murder friends.
I want everyone to go back and watch it just so they can hear her cool, quirky dialect when she says things like hard.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I've never paid that much attention to it, but...
Oh, man, I was like, is this Fargo?
Oh, yeah, you betcha. I said, that don't sound like too good a deal for them, then.
Oh, I was just gonna barf.
I think I'm gonna barf. I'm not sure I agree with your police work there, Lou.
Anyway.
Yeah, anyway. This week we are talking about Season 2, Episode 16, My Desperate Valentine. Original air date, November 21st, 1991. This is the episode that I erroneously remember as Emily Valentine setting fire to a parade float. Because she doesn't actually set fire to the parade float.
Nope. We just get a threat of fire.
Yeah. Well, we get a lot of threats in this episode. So is this episode the first time that the storyline basically picks up from the last episode?
Right. I don't think this is the first time because I feel like what happened between It's Only a Test and the next week.
I feel like that was almost accidental. Like that they did that. I mean, I don't think it's the first time, but I do think it's the first time that it's been so clearly because of what happened in the previous episode.
Okay.
You know, like they followed things on, but this was like some shit happened, and these are the consequences of it.
Yeah.
And the consequences are that Brandon is kind of done and can't really figure out how to break up with Emily.
Except I thought he did.
He did, yeah. No, but so he breaks up with her a few times, and she never really groks that this has happened. Yeah, and she gets a little stalkery. She types some letters. She makes some phone calls. She destroys a parade float, which, by the way, that's the one thing she did in this episode I fully endorse. Like, fuck those parade floats. I don't need to watch traffic. Parade floats are stupid. So I get it. I understand why she wanted to tear the parade float up.
I endorse typewriting, not type threading.
No, the threatening is bad. But yeah, I mean, Tom Hanks also would endorse the typewriting. So sure. If Tom Hanks is in, we're in. That's what I think. So yeah, she got all weird and did a bunch of stuff that's not appropriate, and then Jim and Cindy talked to her parents, and I mean, I know what's going to happen to Emily, but I don't think they said at the end of the episode what's going to happen. Did they say what she's doing?
Oh no, they didn't. Is she going somewhere for a minute?
Possibly more than a minute.
What? Is this it for your face? Is this it for Emily?
It's not it, but it could be.
We've seen too many different hairstyles for it to be like.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you've seen pictures of things in the future.
Interesting.
Yeah. So no, Emily is a short run character who comes back from time to time. So,
oh no.
yeah. So we have an Emily break coming up. At least next week we have an Emily break.
I hope she's not the like, I'm gonna go get well, then come back, then wreck myself over another man, come back, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and it shouldn't really do that. No. But, she does she might be going away somewhere to get well. So, yeah. But it's kind of a little bit the cuckoo's nest. It's a hard look out there for our gal M.
Maybe she'll meet Roger.
Oh, that would be nice if they remembered that there was someone else that they knew.
Fanfic idea. Roger meets Emily
in the nut house.
There are worse places.
No, very true. And then there's a B storyline where Brenda and Dylan, in an attempt to make out less, decide to culture themselves up and go to the symphony. And your head is in your hands right now, like you're on a work call. So, why are you head in hand on this one?
Because these kids are always like acting like they're in these 40-year-plus relationships and like, oh, we need to calm down. Like, no, that's the network talking. I don't believe this for a minute. I loved making out. Making out was the best thing about that's the most comfortable the only base I felt like I could go to, and I loved it.
Hang on the base.
I'm sorry. No. Younger me is like.
Here's what I think about that. There's a couple things, and we should talk way more about Sex in Season 2 and what the network is doing here. Yes. But I completely get we are doing nothing but making out. We have got to do something else. Like that, having that impulse as a teenager, like, yes. Like, that is a thing that I did. Like, no, we have to come up with something else to do because all we're doing is making out. So.
Hey. I didn't hate that much.
Well, there you go. Yeah, it was like that actually, it felt so reasonable to me that they would be like, let's go do the unsexiest thing we can think of, chamber music, and try to culture ourselves up so that we're not just, boning all day long. But I do think that there's a studio thumb on the sex in this show this season.
Oh yeah.
Because like, we spent the entirety of the second half of season 1 talking about, am I going to lose my virginity? Hi, my name's Brenda, in that order. And then she does. And so then, as we discussed, there had to be consequences, because people just can't have sex, especially teenage girls, without there being a lesson involved.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like, we're pretty sure that Brenda and Dylan are back to having sex because of the way that they're behaving. But they don't say that they're doing that. They say they're making out a lot. Mm-hmm. And we're pretty sure that Brandon and Emily had sex after the situation at Halloween or whenever it was that they were on the couch by themselves, and there was only one thing she wanted after Scott. It wasn't Halloween. Yeah. It was after Scott. Yeah, it was after the funeral. So we're pretty sure that happened, but we weren't shown it. And this episode, like, the teenagers are trying to actively not have sex to like an absurd degree. Yeah. So I feel like the network is really saying, let's not have them having sex. And let's not have anyone having any sex. And then later in the season, remember that I said all of these things.
Oh, no.
Because there's some things that happen later that you don't know about in this season that directly support this reading of what's happened so far.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Some things about the people who do have sex and the consequences of that sex, um and the people who don't have sex.
Chlamydia outbreak at school.
No.
Oh, man.
No. Avoid the clap, Jimmy Dugan. That's good advice. So, but there is a school thing. And it's a social issue. It's a thing in school. Oh, it's a thing.
Oh, no.
Can't wait till the end of the season. It's actually not, I think it's maybe 4 or 5 episodes from now.
Someone gets caught doing it. You know, technically, someone was already assaulted on school grounds. And for like a whole week. So,
right.
I mean, they could totally do that again and be like, oh, we've never done this before. Yes, you have.
Yeah, no, people forget things.
They didn't have a show Bible.
But it's not exact. I'm just saying that as we get to the end of the season, I'm going to look back and say, remember when Emily went all haywire and we talked about the sex thing? This is what I meant.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. So it's an interesting thing that's going on in this show this year with the sex.
Well, and I just realized too, pretty much anytime we see one of the main couples / someone dating the twins, they've always been making out in public. So making it look like they can't have sex, even though like they can just go up to a room because they have been used less and less. God.
Yeah, except for the times when we know they were, like Cheryl sneaks into Brandon's bedroom and Emily tries to pull that same trick. And that's the other thing. In season 1, that plot device was for the purpose of the having of the sex.
Yes.
In season 2, that plot device is for the purpose of the not having of the sex. Like it's there to do exactly the opposite thing that it did in season 1, which is kind of weird. So that's one of the things that this episode is really about is maybe teenagers aren't having sex anymore on this show, at least not on camera, and it's just being handled in a very different way.
It certainly would have gone over my head.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I noticed it in the way that I have on this watch, where it's like, yeah, I mean, the thing that I've always noticed about this show and sex is that it's either there because it's someone's first time and that's interesting, or it's there comedically later on. There's not a lot of comedic sex in high school, but like as they get older, almost all of the sex that Steve has is for comedic effect.
Oh, I was thinking it was going to be David. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, Steve gets into some shenanigans. Not all of the time is a comedic, but the further we get into the series, the more comedic his encounters become. So, yeah. So
I was trying to find so for me, and I think this ties in pretty well, I feel like what this episode, because as I was watching it the first time and I was getting all the hints of crazy lady, I thought, oh, yep, well, we're going there. It had to happen at some point. I feel like this episode is about how if you are sex positive and a progressive woman, then you're also mentally unstable.
Yeah. I wondered where you would land on that. Well, here we're going, because it does read like, I don't know why she had to have a screw loose.
Yeah. And
and maybe it's because she is, although she is was a virgin probably. But like, we think.
I was talking about this earlier, and it's so true, and I'm so upset about it because, granted, whatever choices I made in high school, fine, lived with him. And it's probably for the best. However, I have a big problem with the fact that storylines like this and the movie that we're going to watch in conjunction with this, Splendor in the Grass, that story narrative, that narrative that like the first time could make you crazy if you're already an emotional, sensitive, but progressive, opinionated woman, like that affected me. I thought,
Yeah.
oh, I am this person. I don't want to be that. So I won't have sex.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's terrible.
Yeah. It's a bad reason to. But I mean, again, welcome to the fear of sex. It's
Yeah.
just a different flavor.
Yeah. And I mean, it doesn't touch on the fact that, sometimes maybe the other party is who is making the woman crazy. There are other things that could set someone off if they are already like dealing with mental health issues. And I mean, to be fair in this one, I really do think Brandon tried and was pretty clear. At least last episode. This episode, he was definitely tiptoeing too much. But I feel like, as we saw, anything that he said, she was not going to hear.
Right. Yeah. She was not. She was not in a state where that was going to work. Brandon was. He fumbled it quite a bit.
Yeah.
But he was trying to like, and it just none of it was working. But it's another. If you have sex, bad things happen.
Yeah.
It's a sex consequence. Mental illness or, finally coming into yourself as someone who hates parades. Like these are lots of shit gets churned up, is what I'm saying. It just gets going. The juices get flowing. I don't know, and like she's just like giving people massages in the hallway.
Okay, and then I don't know if it was her inexperience. I don't know if it was her making strange acting choices not from lack of experience or if the director was telling her to go a certain way, but it just felt so it felt like she wasn't committing to a choice. Like if you were going to go robotic with it to have like, okay, I just want you to know that I'm ready to deal with the situation. Like, I just want you to know that I'm ready to deal with the situation. Like, she wasn't committing to either one. So as I'm watching it, it really did look like high schoolers. I'll give her that, but
She's all over.
It was odd. And again, maybe that was on purpose and it's brilliant. After Kristen Stewart blowing us away and being good in Spencer and on SNL, like, I don't trust my instincts anymore when I think someone's not good at acting. I'm like, oh, this probably just isn't right for them.
Right. Yeah, or they just made a choice that feels weird,
Yeah, or they didn't have a good director. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't love that she had to go nuts.
Yeah.
I do understand it because literally everyone that Brandon has ever been with has run the fuck on. Like, they have found the situation so objectionable that they went back to their potentially abusive home. They went to where did Carla go back to? Like, what little town 25 minutes straight east of Beverly Hills did she move to?
A rough town where she witnessed a murder.
Right, but not even like it. She was like 20 miles away. We can't go back and talk to her ever again. And like now, Emily's crazy. Like, Emily lost her damn mind because she spent 2 months with Brandon. And if that's what happens as these relationships get progressively longer, I'm very worried about the ladies involved.
Well, yeah. I mean, and think about it. Andrea dodged a bullet. It's like she got a whiff of the
Yeah.
crazy, and she went, "I only want that.
Right.
I want that crazy dick if it's leaving, because I've seen
Yeah.
what happens."
Well, and somebody posted this thing on, I don't know, some Facebook group, and it was just it was a picture of a bunch of pictures of Brandon kissing Andrea. Because
Oh,
it's at this point, it's already happened 3 times, right?
that's true.
So, and I was like, I looked at that and I was like, those first three, not the third one. That was the he thinks she bought him a carousel.
Yeah.
It's like they're consensually kissing, but the first one, drunk before he
Yeah.
kills Mondale, and then the second one when he's high on euphoria, not consensual.
Mm-hmm.
And like so, he's line stepping with her continually,
Yeah.
and it's real weird. But there's I lost my train of thought with this thing because we went down the Andrea rabbit hole.
There's just a lot of weird choices they're making with this storyline.
Yeah, and so let me ask you this, because now that we've seen basically the Emily story arc,
Mm-hmm.
like not the whole thing, but we've seen the meat of it. Does her character make sense to you? Like, and I'm not saying one way or the other. Like, I'm not sure if she makes sense to me or not. I haven't really thought it through. But so we meet her. She's a new kid in school. She's very cool. She's got a guitar and like a leather jacket, and she has fun at the gynecologist. And but she's a virgin. But all the boys like her, and there's this back and forth drama. And then we don't really see her for a few weeks because their schedule gets switched up or whatever. And then she and Brandon really start dating. They have what I consider a pretty nice little Halloween situation there.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty fun. I mean, they lose 2 children, but whatever. They find them. They're okay.
Mm.
Yeah. And then they make out at a birthday party where a kid kills himself accidentally. And so that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
And then she drugs him. And then he breaks up with her and she loses her mind. So, and in this episode, they were all about trying to explain to us why she did that. Like, she's a borderline personality. Like, every person in the second half of this movie episode diagnosed her with something.
Yeah. Like, none of y'all are certified to do that.
They're just, and even when Brandon's like, I probably even know what I'm talking about. And Brenda's like, no, you definitely don't know what you're talking about.
She spent 1 week on the hotline, so she knows.
Well, she knows. I mean, she can hear things. And Andrea should know better. She's been on Rampline a lot.
She really should have. I mean, the thing that really set me off in terms of like where I thought her mind was going, and it scared me, was when she brought in that typewriter, because they always say one of the big signs of someone about to possibly hurt themselves permanently is giving away stuff. And I was like, Andrea, you should know this. And she even clocks it and says, you're going away?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that should have, and maybe that was a red flag for Andrea. Maybe that's why Andrea made a point to tell Emily that to keep, like, you should be here. You deserve to be in this picture. I think that's probably what Andrea was doing there. And before you said that, I didn't even think about that. That Andrea probably did clock that as a suicidal sign. And so let's keep her with the people. Let's, it's not the time to cast her out.
Once again, I wish that they recognize they have, well, not good adults around them, but like Jim and Cindy are adults who are proactive and will care for kids, because apparently LA parents don't.
No, Midwestern only.
Only. Oh, good old Midwestern.
I know. We're the best.
And teachers maybe, although other than Mrs. Teasley, I haven't seen a trustworthy teacher.
So you don't think that they should call Mr. Suter? I really just wanted to say that so that like later, if we felt like putting in explosion things, there could be like flames shooting out of the top of your head, like
on the side of my face, burning.
Yep.
I hate him so much. Oh
I
my
just see
god!
like you're the Statue of Liberty and fireworks are just exploding out of your crown.
Of Elmo with flames behind him. That's me when I think of Suitor.
Chris Suitor. Yeah. All right, let's see if we can figure out how this makes sense. She is new kid in school. She feels almost included, but not really, because like she's brought in, but like Brenda immediately turns on her. And so she's pretty gun shy around this crew. She takes a little break from him, gets back in with Brandon a little bit because she's like, I liked that one.
Yeah.
And then they're having a lot of fun together. Like they're clearly into each other. They're making out every place. No attempt to go to the symphony. Like just straight making out. And like they comfort each other when it's like the really hard time. And I think she's starting to feel like she's part of the group.
Mm-hmm.
And then she fucks up. And after bullying everybody into going to the rave, which was weird. So maybe she's feeling too comfortable then, right? Maybe everything that happens in that episode is Emily feeling too comfortable now that she's with Brandon. Now she thinks she's cock of the walk.
Yeah.
But she's not, because the minute she messes up, she's back on the outside again.
And it didn't feel like she was pointedly on the outside, though. Like, I feel like other people were still talking or willing to talk to her. Like, on Dawson's Creek, when a character gets accused of forcing drugs on a friend, like, they definitely ostracize her, and it's not even her fault.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like she was starting to feel comfortable and thought, ooh, maybe I can get them to like things that I like, which includes partying and trying drugs and all of that.
Right.
And trying a little too hard, like some people do. They become aggressive.
Well, she certainly did that this episode too. Like, she became aggressive with Brandon. Like, the first conversation she has with him outside the newsroom, when she's like asking if he wants to do something. And she's like, when are we gonna? No, you're studying. I heard you. Like, she wants to push it, but she stops herself. She pulls herself back.
Yeah.
Like in that interaction, and then so she's like, okay, I'm backing off, trying to give him the space he thinks he needs. But then he lied to me, and he showed up at the Peach Pit when he told me he was studying.
And how did she know? Because here's what doesn't make sense. Did she know he was there? And if so, how? Because she knifes her motorcycle.
Oh, before she gets there. Yeah. Steve did have to make a lot of phone calls. Maybe he was just calling literally everybody he knew and telling him to come to the Peach Pit because he was sad and lonely. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. It just hit me. I thought, like, not to mention, what the hell did she knife her tire with? Like, I've had a tire slashed, but it was just a line, not like a...
Yeah.
It had like a half, like 2/3 of a triangle.
Yeah, I didn't even notice it. But so maybe the payphone she was calling from, she could see their house.
Oh.
So she's outside, she's calling Brandon's number, and he's, hang-ups. So she sees him go there.
Okay.
And she's like, this motherfucker is lying to me. So she follows him. See, now I'm putting myself in Emily's corner.
Lord, Dan.
Kinda, right? And so he's lying to her, and then he breaks up with her. And she's like, she's not, no, I'm not hearing that. I'm not interested in that. And so she keeps trying. But she also sort of felt it coming, right? Like, she feels it coming. That's why she slashes the tire and sets up the whole ruse where she's going to the house. But also this whole time she's been sending threatening letters to the school newspaper for 2 weeks. So that's like her first move. Her first move is, I drugged him. He didn't like it. Now I'm going to send the letters. Because that started immediately.
Yeah. It's so,
and so
funny.
Yeah, so she's already not holding on very well.
Nope.
And then he like lies to her, then breaks up with her, and I think she's turned a corner, maybe. Because the calls increase and the letters get more aggressive. Yeah. Not any better written, but
no.
like she's not becoming a better writer through this, so don't tap into that part of yourself, Em. And then like Brandon denies her again. Like she comes into his room in the middle of the night, boom. And then she goes for the shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Which pisses him off and is like a big flashing red sign for Brenda. She's like, the shirt, that's a problem. She should not have done the shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's clawing now, like trying to keep her spot, trying not to be pushed all the way out. And doesn't know how to express that, so she's like kissing him in the picture, and he pisses her off and drop dead.
Like, it's such a weird gaslighty moment, because of course it's set up to make him look like the asshole, but she's not any better. I mean, she's been doing all of this really scary stuff and not taking his no for an answer. And again, turning it on him like, oh, or turning it back on her like, oh, but now I feel like a slut. And
right. That's why what's going on with her is diabolical. Because that she knows that in that instance, she has to reverse the heat and make it Brandon look like the bad guy in front of everybody. Because otherwise,
the most emotive she gets. Everything else is relatively flat, but again, not flat, not committed flat.
Right. Yeah. Maybe she's still on Euphoria.
Maybe. I wish I could demonstrate it better, but I feel like
what did Brenda say? That she sounds like she's a total pothead or something? It wasn't pothead, but it was something like that. Stoner. She called her a stoner.
Oh,
she said she sounds like a total stoner.
Maybe.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe it was too subtle.
It was definitely too subtle.
And that's definitely something that this episode was about. This episode was about subtlety. Because I was texting you about this earlier. And so maybe they were being too subtle with us, and we just didn't get that she was on drugs this whole time after the Euphoria.
She was smoking pot the whole week to keep herself calm about losing him?
Maybe. So, yeah. So this episode was about how subtlety doesn't work. True. Right? Like, she sends letters, and that's not loud enough. She also has to bring the typewriter in and hand it to Andrea and say, look at the thing that wrote the letters. Clickety, clickety, clickety.
Here's the smoking gun.
Yes, exactly. So, like 10 letters in 2 weeks, threatening people, too subtle. Yeah. Okay? The phone calls and 16 voicemail, like the phone calls were too subtle. The hang-ups were too subtle. So she started leaving voicemails. Or answering machine messages. They weren't voicemails. That didn't exist. We had that exact same answering machine, by the way.
Nice.
Same style of answering machine. So she went to messages, and the messages were like sexually explicit.
Yeah.
I
miss your touch on my skin, Brandon.
Yeah. You had to try this and then this to get anyone to pay attention. And Brandon's breakup was too subtle. Like every time he broke up with her, There was it's an old Steve Martin bit when he's the wild and crazy guy.
Yeah.
He's like, "You Americans are so weird. Like when you break up with a girl, it's a big deal. In my country, when you break up with a girl, you say, 'I break with thee, I break with thee, I break with thee.' And then you throw dog poop on their shoes. And then you walk around town looking for the girls with the dog poop on their shoes."
Oh my God.
So, like, maybe he needed to throw the dog poop on her shoes, like, in order for her to, like, get it.
Well, and it doesn't help that he's getting mixed messages also from his mom, because Cindy's like, oh, I feel so bad for her, but then sharing a knowing look with Brenda, like, this girl's crazy. We know.
Right.
We keep it in check.
But and Kelly too is like, what Emily's doing is not that weird, Brenda. Like, I sent this other guy. Yeah, eventually. But when I was in 8th grade, I was a crazy person. And I learned my lesson, and now I'm not anymore. And, but like none of that works. And then it wasn't enough for us to understand Emily's motivations and her actions and her connection to the drug underworld.
Yeah.
We also had to be given 10 minutes at the end of the episode where every character explains to us what's wrong with her.
Instead of her or her parents.
Or instead of us just getting it.
Fair.
You know what I mean? Because, like, ideally, you don't want to have to explain that stuff. And this is why I said that this was a perfect tie-in to Psycho. And anyone who's seen Psycho, and I'm going to do this without ruining for you. Okay. But at the very end of the movie, there's this voiceover where a doctor explains the reason why all of the things happened.
Oh.
And it's watching it now, that part of the movie feels kind of heavy-handed. Mm-hmm. But I think when the movie was made, there was so little understanding of mental health things that, like, you had to say it and really spell it out in every step. And so the end of this episode felt like the end of Psycho to me, where it's like everyone has a theory about what is happening with her, and they're just telling it to us. And
I mean, and definitely, not to say that people didn't know about mental health problems back then, but it certainly wasn't being talked about the way it's being talked about now.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that Andrea even knew what a borderline personality disorder was kind of impressive to me. I thought, oh, y'all did know some stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think then you would hear things like bipolar.
Yeah.
You would hear that some. You would hear chemical imbalance. Oh. I heard that some. Yeah. You would hear things like that. But it wasn't. Yeah. So the talking about it has come quite a long way, which is really good.
You bleed for 7 days a month and you don't die, it would eventually make you a little loopy too.
Well, that's fair. I mean, I wouldn't know.
Which is not to say all women are crazy, but we all, I think a lot of us.
Well, and if you're a total stoner.
Yeah. Listen, it's complicated. It's complicated being a teen. It's complicated being a teenage girl. It's complicated navigating all these things. And, it doesn't, all this to say, it doesn't have to result in someone needing to go to a mental health facility afterwards.
Right.
So many of these feelings that she's having are the same feelings that many other teenagers have had,
And she does, and they do say in all of the telling us what's wrong with Emily that, like, she has seen a therapist on and off for years, which is great. Yeah. Although when they say it, there's still like a stigma to the tone of it.
Uh-huh.
Like she has been seeing a therapist for the last few years. Cuckoo. Like that was there a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then she said she locked herself in a room and played really loud music or whatever. Like, she is someone who is trying to figure out how to live with her emotions, Same. Not like control them, but like know what they are and how to ride with them. And
Yeah.
process them effectively, and she's not doing a great job of it. It doesn't help potentially that she sounds like a total stoner. I don't know.
Sometimes that
So
helps.
yeah, sometimes might not. It doesn't seem to be helping her. Whatever's going on.
Stuff.
No, she's
Before it was regulated.
yeah, she's getting the set it on fire stuff.
Oh no, it's laced with something.
Yeah, whatever it is that Beavis takes, that's what she.
Oh no. Jesus.
I know. So, one other thing that I thought that this episode was maybe about is the folly of fighting the inevitable. Because Brenda and Dylan are trying a lot of things to fight the inevitability of making out again. And it's worthless. Like, everything they do just makes them horny because they're 17. And there you have it. Like, that's the beginning and end of the story.
They clearly haven't seen Bridgerton because quartets makes those bitches horny all the time.
Well, see, and now we know it from this too. It worked in the Bridgerton era and in the early 90s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, go to a string quartet, get it on. Let's get it on.
It's romantic.
Hell yeah, it is. But they tried, and in the end, it's just like, we probably aren't going to go back to those, but I guarantee you we're going to be making out again. And then Emily is trying to fight the inevitability of getting dumped. Like, this is happening.
Even though she's technically already dumped.
She's dumped, and she's getting dumped more. Like, it's extra dumping. It's what we call overdump. It's what we call psychotic. So she just keeps trying new tactics to try to prevent this thing from happening that, in effect, has already happened.
If you make love to me tonight, I swear you won't break up with me tomorrow morning.
That's another thing that was slightly too subtle.
What
because
the fuck?
Here's what should have happened, right? Because the next thing he says is, I have to be in love to make love. Then Emily should have said, well, you would just want to fuck then? Like, I mean, just take that part out of it. Just ratchet it up a little bit. Subtlety is not going to work here.
Well, and again, they've already done it. I would have been like, so were you in love then?
Yes. No, that was before the drugs. Was in love, and then the drugs, and then there's no more love. That's how that works.
It's also crazy to think, like, really, Brandon? Like, I think you think of love too loosely. Like, you know, I think you think of making love really on the levels of caring for someone. Because I do not believe that you loved Cheryl. I don't believe you have loved any of these women. You just have a savior complex.
Mm-hmm. I don't believe that he meant it when he said it to Emily.
He was just being sanctimonious.
He was. He just wanted to say, get out.
I would have slapped him. And then used your line, you want to fuck?
Yeah, how about fucking? So, and then she's also fighting against the inevitability that she's going to be an outcast. Like, she's not in the opening credits.
That's true.
You know, she doesn't turn to the camera and do a thing. Yeah, she doesn't do that. So she's always going to end up on an outcast from this group, especially once people feel like she drugged Brandon. Like, then she's definitely going to be pushed to the side. And so she's trying to grab the group and just hold on and stay in, and it's just not going to work because the inevitable is date Brandon, run away.
She becomes a pick-me girl.
Explain that to me. What is that? I saw that written someplace, and I didn't bother to click on it.
So I don't know 100% with 100% certainty, but it helped reading Ellen Pompeo's experience with hearing her daughter say it, because she's like, oh, Meredith Grey is a pick-me girl because of the pick-me, choose me, love me.
Oh God, yes, she really is.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. I get it.
And remember, too, I had said that I was getting Manic Pixie Dream Girl vibes, And what do
Yeah.
all of those girls have in common? To quote my dad, they've got a screw loose.
Well, they have short hair, most of
Yep.
them. And she wanted Brandon or Dylan to pick her.
Mm-hmm.
But then they also wanted her to pick them. So there was like a double picking.
But I had my pick of, I could have picked any guy, but I chose you.
That's right. She picked him. Um, okay. Now I understand what that term means. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Smarten me up.
Occasionally I know what the youths are talking about.
Well, I mean, I think we talked about it earlier today, how the youths of today, as I understand it, when they don't have a set schedule, they say that they're flex, like they're flexible, they're flex, right? And then they don't say what's up anymore. They say what's sky, but that's hard to say because it smushes together.
Wait,
do
they really say that? I thought you made that up.
I made all this up.
Oh my God.
No, these are the kids in my lid kids.
But they do say things like, "Oh, they ate that," and I'm like, okay.
Yep. And did you know that I have Riz? I have Riz, everybody.
I hate that one. But I was gonna joke. I was gonna joke like that you had Riz. Gross.
Oh,
Lame.
I tell Liam all the time that I have Riz, and he hates it. He hates it so much. It's like pouring battery acid on it. Like it just melts the word. It makes it 100% uncool, which is definitely my goal. I want to.
This food's bussin' all the time.
He says things are bussin'. Oh my God, all the time. Someone on Survivor last week said the food was bussin'.
Oh my God.
Yep. And Laura texted me. She was like, somebody said the food was bussin'. I'm like, of course they did. Because that's the world we live in today. We live in a bussin' world where kids say sky. Made that up, but I want it to be true.
Well,
Create the slang.
Better than Bound and Hagged on a Friday night.
That is totally a lame saying.
You need to send me that list because I want to keep this going and see how long we can.
Yeah. I know. I'll find it and send it to you.
Thank you.
And the other thing that was inevitable was that Brandon wasn't going to be able to stay the nice guy in everyone's eyes. And that's what he wanted. Dylan even pointed it out. Like, you always are just trying to be the nice guy. Sometimes you have to, say the thing that you mean so that people understand you. And it's very possible at the end of this, she won't like you anymore.
I think Samantha on Sex and the City says it best with we're all a bad guy in someone's story.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, and eventually Brenda's right. Eventually Brandon will forgive her.
Yeah.
And because that's who he is.
Mm-hmm.
But not right now. Right now, this is what this is. And he's right.
To.
No, but he probably will. That's just who he is. And that happens to a lot of people who are the villains in someone else's story. Yeah. That story gets recontextualized over time, over experience, and now you're not really a bad guy anymore. You're just a person who played this role in this part of my life. She drugged him, and that's not awesome. And then she tried to set a parade float on fire, and that's not awesome either.
In California, no less. Come on.
I know, wildfires and shit would be bad. That's why, by the way, I'm pretty sure they didn't actually set it on fire, is because I think that set is actually it might have actually been the backyard of the real house.
Oh.
They were not setting that thing on fire in a residential neighborhood. That just was not going to happen. Nope. That is way too expensive of a thing to do for a TV show.
Yeah.
In 1991. So, yeah, definitely did not set it on fire, even though I thought they did. But, yeah, it just, Brandon, he was going to end up being a shit. Yeah. In Emily's eyes, no matter how this went. And he fought so hard to break up with her and stay the good guy all around. And you can't do that. I mean, it's an impossible task to set yourself Just like trying not to make out while this quartet's playing.
And hopefully he doesn't take this as carte blanche to be an asshole the next time he breaks up with someone.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to be horrible, but
No.
all the things he tried here did not work.
Like, you can play Get Out by JoJo and it'll be fine, but he didn't have that song at the time, so he had to, I don't know what you all played in 91 to tell people to leave.
I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
I guess Losing My Religion, since that was the breakup song.
But that's not like, you don't play that to someone. That's not like playing Hit the Road Jack and Don't You Come Back no more, no more, no more, no more, Hit the Road Jack.
Yeah.
Don't You Come Back no more. What'd you say? It's not quite as direct. It's not used in the same way. It's used to weep into a pillow too.
I just realized the brilliance of those lyrics, like the fact that the women are saying that over and over again, and then he follows up with, "What you say?"
That's right.
They made it very clear.
Yeah, but he's not listening. He doesn't understand. I mean, he just, woman, oh woman, why you treat me so mean? You're the meanest old woman I ever seen. I guess if you say so.
Ray Charles, so.
Well, that's true. But he did have to hit the road. So, Jack. And so is Emily. Emily has now hit the road to somewhere. I don't think she's in Timber Hills with Jackie or wherever Jackie went. But
where did they end up in Girl Interrupted? Maybe she's there.
I don't know. I didn't see that one. I know what it is, but I did not see it. Man. All right. Is there anything else that this episode might have been about?
Oh my God. I think we thoroughly covered it.
I think we juiced this orange.
Yeah.
Is that do the kids say that too?
I think they should.
Yeah. We juiced this orange.
We juiced this orange.
You know what we did? We took out just enough to win. Just enough to win, everybody. Yeah, I really would like that to be an expression that people use.
Just enough.
Just enough to win. Okay, so what did this episode make you nostalgic for?
This is a tough one because, like, not for breakups. You know what? Not for breakups, but for the conversations that you have with your girlfriends afterwards where they're trying to make you feel better. And, you know, they say all the shitty stuff that you don't feel able to say yet because you're too distraught. But they're like, he doesn't deserve you. He's an asshole. What a loser. And then you're also, like, low-key, like, planning out pranks of... Because, like, I know there was a guy who... I didn't realize he was a 2-weeker.
Mm.
And so, like, literally at the end of 2 weeks, he broke up with me, and it was very sad. And he was obsessed with his hair, and some girlfriends and I were like, oh man, how funny would it be if we put Nair in his shampoo? Obviously weren't going to do that. There was no way. But yeah, so I would say nostalgic in a very weird way for those, you know, when breaking up wasn't the devastating thing it becomes later on. I mean,
sure.
It was, but it is when you're a teenager.
Yeah.
And then you get older and you realize breakups can be so much worse.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. No, yeah, you're nostalgic for the breakup debrief.
Yeah, for the camaraderie that, you know,
I get that.
Women corralling around you to make you feel better. It's great.
No, I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I am going to go with something that I think it's better now. But I'm going to say that I'm a little bit nostalgic for the mystery of who's on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because like there wasn't a lot of, you weren't getting spam phone calls quite. So like that wasn't a thing in the early 90s. I don't remember when that started, but it definitely wasn't that. But there was no caller ID. So when the phone rang, you just didn't know. I mean, it could be someone doing a poll for the local politician. It could be your grandma, Like it could be the doctor with your test results.
Yeah.
It could be your kid's school. It could be the police. Like it could be anybody. And in like right now, the way that we live now is the entire world contained in three dots, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when you see those three dots on your text message thing, that could be anything.
Yeah.
That little moment of what are they typing? Oh, that could be you won $1 million, or I just stabbed a hobo, or it could be anything, right?
Yeah.
And so like that's right now all the world's in three dots. Back then all the world was in that phone ringing, because you just had no idea what was on the other end. Even when you knew it was Emily. Click. Well, maybe that wasn't her. God damn it, Cindy. Of course it was her. There's such a mystery in that phone ring that even with all of the evidence pointing to there's only one person who keeps calling our house, Cindy's like, I don't know, maybe it was the 4-H. You know?
You got yourself a heavy breather, Brandon?
No, I hang up.
Yeah, I do miss those days. I miss just being able to hang up, you know?
Right. Boom. And make the whole.
No, I love to hit things.
Yeah, oh yeah. And to hang up hard enough that the bell inside the phone rings a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good hang up. Yeah, you can't viscerally hang up anymore.
No.
And that something lost to time, sadly.
Like the last good. Okay, so where I'm going with this is because I'm thinking of with hanging up, you got a lot of great acting moments from hang-ups.
Sure, yeah.
And now I think the last exciting phone acting thing was in Breaking Bad with how often they broke their burner phones.
Yeah.
Oh.
There are times when I've seen it used very funny. The throw your phone in the lake.
Yeah.
Move, I can't even remember what it was, but it was like one character took another character's phone and threw it in the water, and they were like, "But that was and it didn't." Yeah, it did. Yeah, it didn't even make sense that they did it. It didn't solve a problem. It was just the thing they did. I wish I could remember what it was. But that's it has to be a big motion in order for it to really feel like you did it. That is not. That doesn't do it. Doesn't feel the same.
It's too gentle.
It is, yeah. And you don't want to throw that phone. It's expensive.
Right?
Yeah, you don't want to do that. But, you can get a new... I hung up phones hard numerous times. Never came close to breaking one.
No.
I don't know what you would have to do to, how hard you'd have to hang up a phone to actually break it. But I don't know that I know... I knew a lot of people who hung up on people angry, and I don't think any one of them ever broke a phone. So we used to make things in this country. That's what I'm saying, Leslie.
I know. I feel it. I'm holding back, but I feel it.
All right.
My parents have some old phones still. Maybe next time I'll play with them and be like, how hard can I say?
You know what? You're going to cut your hand before you break that phone. That phone is harder than your skin.
I'll wear gloves.
1,000%. Okay, I'm just warning you. That's what you're getting yourself into.
Knowing me, I will hurt myself.
Yeah, well, no, I can't. I have to type like this, one finger.
Yeah.
All right, well, who then is your Steve Sanders Memorial worst person of the episode?
God. It's tough. I don't want to say Emily, but I feel like it's Emily.
She's a habitual line stepper in this episode.
Because here's the thing. I feel like it's Emily because mental illness doesn't excuse you for almost hurting people or emotionally abusing people. I'm sorry about that. Harassing people. Yeah. Ember's upset about it too. Listen.
I get it.
A rescue dog, she's very upset.
No, it's understandable.
I'm praying for her.
Me too.
How about you? Who do you think is the worst?
The worst person in this episode is the time and space and reality bending wizard who made it so that these people have seen Fatal Attraction and don't know that man in the Japanese restaurant is standing right in front of them. This is right.
Yeah, she's
furious.
Furious.
This is the just one of the guys. She looks like the Karate Kid, but Johnny Lawrence goes to our school. Like, in a world, 90210 is a world where Fatal Attraction is a movie. And James Eckhouse plays man in the Japanese restaurant. My mind is broken.
Yeah.
I don't know how these two things can happen. So that person, whoever that wizard was that did that, shame. Everybody knows your name.
Shame. Shame.
Yeah. I mean, the answer is clearly Emily, but I wanted to talk about the time and space of it all. And the fact that we have recorded a Fatal Attraction episode in season 1 that I don't think we ever dropped anywhere. So maybe keep your eyes peeled to the feed this week and you might get a Fatal Attraction episode. Because it definitely ties into this episode.
Yes, it does.
So,
yeah.
And then we'll have our normal Peach Pod After Dark this Friday. So, but join us here next week, Cheesemeisters, when we're going to watch season 2, episode 17, Chucky's Back.
What the hell?
Uh-huh. You're never going to guess what happens in this episode. Like, there's just no way that you're going to be like, well, after these last few episodes, I'm pretty sure what we're going to get is this.
It's probably some weird palate cleanser.
It's, I don't know. It's just fucking Chucky. It's all. It's just
fucking Chucky.
Fucking. But until then, Cheesemeisters.
Bye.
Bye.